Hello lovelies. So I recorded this video and it was more than an hour long. So I thought instead of releasing one really super long video that I would break this into a 5-day Fountain Pen Friday series, sort of a short series within a series, where I show you and talk about my favorite fountain pens for beginners. Obviously, I can't talk about all my favorites, so I've narrowed it down and I talk about that as the video begins. So this is something that was going to be one video. I'm breaking it into 5. I will release one each day starting Friday, August 7th. And each day I'll be doing a giveaway. So stay tuned to the series, watch all the videos, and stay to the end to find out what you need to do to enter the giveaway each day. Thank you so much for being here, so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. See you soon. Hello beautiful creative people, Kyla Givehand here, back for another Fountain Pen Friday. Thank you so much for joining me and welcome back to my channel. So last week I showed you my collection and just kind of briefly and quickly went through a bunch of fountain pens that I have and own and love and have had, and I shared my story with you. So if you haven't watched that and you're new to my channel, please go check that out. It will give you a little bit of context around what this is all about and why I'm sharing. Yes, there are many people sharing their fountain pen stories and reviews and all sorts of things, but I thought that I've been doing this for so long that my voice might be helpful to some in this process, in this journey, especially talking to my journalers and my artist people, and so I thought that might be helpful. So here I am back for another Fountain Pen Friday. Alright, for most of you, you know that I am using my Franklin-Christoph and Catherine Masuk Vagabond journal that I love and adore. This cover looks like leather, but it isn't. It is actually a natural fiber and it feels so good in the hand. This one is in cranberry. And so I am, in this, I keep my Swatch With Me Sundays, little notebook, handmade journal. I keep my fountain pen logs, and then a little journal for Fountain Pen Fridays. So I'm going to take that out because we'll be doing some writing samples with that today. Alright, so this was actually more difficult than I thought it would be to come up with 5 fountain pens that would be my favorites. Alright, and so what I'm doing today, I've gotten a lot of questions on private messages in Instagram and Facebook and emails, lots of beautiful comments here and on Instagram. And one of the questions that over the years I have gotten more than any other question is, what is a good pen for fountain pen beginners? And so today I thought I would share 5 of my favorite fountain pens for beginners. But that was really hard to narrow down. And what I mean by that is I could literally show you 40 pens that I think would be great for beginners, but that's not very helpful. So, or maybe it would be helpful, but I think what I'll do, or what I decided to do, was to pull out 5 that I believe are fountain pen beginner friendly, easy to find, and affordable, and also that I actually use most of the time. So at least one of these stays in my personal everyday rotation. And so that was an easy way for me to narrow it down, because I have a lot of other pens that I think would be great for beginners, but maybe they're not very easy to find, like a limited edition or something that comes from overseas that maybe for US people is really hard to find, and in some ways for people who live overseas are difficult to find. Pens that are no longer in circulation. And then a lot of pens that I think would probably be good for beginners that are maybe a little more pricey, right? So I've tried to narrow it down to what I actually use on a regular basis, what I thought might be affordable, easy to find, and friendly to fountain pen beginners. Alright, so with all of that said, let's get started. The very first pen that I am bringing to the table is my Jinhao Swan pen. And I actually have another one so that you could actually see, because I know the one I use every day is my my clear translucent demonstrator swan. And so I thought, well, so they can see it on camera. So there's the little swan head. And it is actually a working clip that, you know, you can clip your pen on using that clip. It is an actual functioning clip. It just happens to look like the head of a swan. And I'm actually going to bring in a second pen here because Jinhao also makes a shark pen. And so the shark is pretty much identical to the swan with the exception of a shark face and fin instead of a swan. And so everything that I say about the Jinhao Swan goes for the Jinhao Shark as well. Okay, so, but I thought I'd show that because some people are like, swan's not really my thing, but maybe a shark is your thing. So, alright, what I love about this pen and why I've chosen it to be in the number 5 spot. Well, first and foremost, it is, it's made out of a plastic. So the body is plastic. And to me, that makes it fountain pen friendly, beginner friendly, because you don't have to worry about dropping it, breaking it. You literally can buy 5 of these for maybe 12 bucks. You could get 24 of them, I think, for maybe 20 bucks. And they come in all different colors. So I think these are really fun pens for beginners because they give you a quality nib. Jinhao makes a beautiful nib. Easy writer, lots of good ink flow, and so you can get a really good nib on a pen that doesn't cost a lot because the body is plastic. And then you don't have to worry so much about, you know, being really super precious with it or extra careful with it. Now I will be giving away this blue Jinhao Swan because I have several of these, lots of colors of this pen. And so stay tuned to the end to find out how to get entered for the giveaway for that. The other thing I love about this pen is 2 different nib styles, and I will give you links to everything below. So I love a hooded nib, and a hooded nib just means you only see a portion of the nib. The rest has a little hood over it. And so the nibs are still nibs, and they write really beautifully. This one that is the hooded is, I believe, an extra fine. It might be a fine, but I'm pretty sure it's an extra fine nib, and it writes so smooth, so beautifully. It almost writes like a fine. Then this is a medium, or sorry, this is a fine that writes like a medium. And so the nibs are really just beautiful nibs, and they're really fun for collectors, people who like to collect, like to have, you know, several of the same kind of pen. This would be a great pen for folks who want to do that. The cap does screw, and it does post as well. And I like a pen that posts where the cap posts. So you don't have to do a lot of work to post it. You just pop it on there, and then it is weighted beautifully. It doesn't weigh the pen down and make it heavy, back heavy. It actually, for me, this is a little light. But as soon as I put that nib, the cap on there, it gives it almost like a really perfect weight. It's not too heavy. It's really easy. Beginners will often experience what's called pen fatigue, like, you know, writing fatigue, hand fatigue, because you're not used to holding a fountain pen or working with it a certain way. So the lighter the pen for beginners, I think sometimes the better, because then you don't experience that pen fatigue that you might when you use a heavier pen. Okay, so that is the Jinhao Swan. It also, oh, let me say a few more things. You can have what is called a cartridge, or you can use a converter, and they both come out. The cartridges are disposable. You literally could just throw this in the garbage, or I'm going to show you another option in a moment here. The converter, however, is not something you want to dispose of. You want to keep this because you can just refill it over and over again with your favorite ink. And so for the person who gets the giveaway, wins the giveaway, I will be giving you a Jinhao converter to go with your pen, and I'll be sending you a little vial of ink sample to play with. All right. In terms of this, now I do like to use cartridges. Oftentimes I will use a cartridge when I get the pen initially, just to test out the pen to see, unless of course it's a pen I already know and love and I'm just getting another one or a different color or something like that. Then I will go ahead and just fill the cartridge or eyedropper, however I'm going to do it. Okay, but for this, in this case, I did use a cartridge. Gosh, I'm going to say that word backwards 1,000 times. I used a cartridge, and Jinhao actually has cartridges that you can buy, and they come in all different colors. This one happens to be Sunny Orange, I think is the name of this one, Sunny Orange. And I've got a couple other colors in with it. A blue and a black. So it's just a standard, international standard cartridge. And so it doesn't have to be Jinhao ink just because it's a Jinhao pen. You can use ink from, you know, a company like, you know, Aveco if you wanted to, a German company, right? You could use, you know, a Waterman standard ink cartridge in there. So it doesn't have to be Jinhao just because it is a Jinhao pen, all right? But oftentimes you will find that some pen companies that make inks have formulated their ink to work with their pens beautifully. So I would say it's worth getting at least one set of cartridges should you decide you want to do that. Now, in this instance, I am going to show you an ink sample. I don't actually know. Let's see if there's enough ink in here to do a pen sample, a writing sample. I imagine that there may or may not be. It's been a while since I wrote with it, and by a while I mean like a day or two. So yeah, I don't have any ink in this one. So why don't we fill this? And that gives me the opportunity to show you all how I fill my pens, my cartridges, when I don't want to use an actual cartridge, but I want to use a different ink. So let's do that. I'm going to grab my supplies and tools, and I'll show you how to fill a cartridge once it's empty. Alright lovelies, I'm back, and this is, I'll just go ahead and say, this is not necessarily a beginner way of filling the ink, but I thought I'd go ahead and show this since I'm here, and well, we're talking about fountain pens. So I take the cartridge, and I have a little syringe here that I use just for ink. It is not a needle. It's a, you know, it has a blunt tip. You can see it's got like a hole there. It's not a needle, but it, you know, it looks like a needle. And it comes apart for easy cleaning when it's time to clean it. And I think the last ink I used was probably pink, so I'm just gonna try to clear that pink out of there. And I just use, you know, plain old water. And it's okay because I'm going to purple, so if I get a little bit of pink in there, that's okay. Alright, so I just open up the syringe, I open up my ink. And if you are a beginner, just go ahead and resolve yourself that you're going to get ink on your fingers. If you don't like that kind of thing, then fountain pens probably are not your thing. So I just stick the ink in the jar, and I just draw up enough that I think, you know, would be, and then I stick that down into my converter. And I squeeze. Just release the ink into, I'm going to pause for a second and just tap that down. I see there's some air in there, so I'm just tapping that down. Alright, and then I just finish filling that with my syringe. Now, if I run out of ink, I always keep a little napkin, some water. So I'm just going to grab a little bit more. And again, just enough to get right to the tip there, right to that rim, and then I pop it back in, easy peasy, and my cartridge has been refilled. So those cartridges are disposable, And just gonna make sure all that's out. And then so the cartridges are disposable, but you can refill them if you have a little syringe. So I'm just drawing up some water and squeezing that out. I have water, 2 cups of water right in front of me, one that's clear water and one that is inky watercolory water. And so I'm just cleaning out my syringe and moving that off to the side. And then we have a pen that now has ink in it, and that took me less than 2 minutes to do. I did that in real time. I didn't speed anything up for you. That was really quick. Okay, then you just, I do this. This is called, to me, this is charging the pen. Some people do, you know, whatever they do. So, Fountain Pen Friday. Boom. So there's an ink sample or a writing sample using the Jinhao Swan. And the ink I'm using is Diamine Majestic Purple. Some people say Diamine, I say Diamine. Majestic Purple. And it's a gorgeous purple. It's a deep, deep purple, but you can tell it's purple. Okay, so that is the Jinhao coming in at the number 5 spot. Jinhao Swan. Okay, and just so you know, what I typically do, once I've refilled a pen, I'm not going to do this every time on camera here, but once I've refilled a pen, I go to the log where I know it is, and I know this was one of the last entries in this particular log, so it's on page 12. So I just flip to where it is, and I make a note. I switched it to the Diamine is the brand of the ink, and the color is Majestic Purple. And today's date, what is today's date? Oh, August 6, 2020. And then it has a little space here for a writing sample, and I'll just write for fountain pen Friday. Awesome. And there you have it. Logged. Alright. And I like to, the reason I log, I like to look at like how long did the ink last. So the ink in this cartridge, I use this not every single day, but I use it a lot. And the ink lasted me from March 28th to August the 6th. March 28th to August 6th. I love that. The 2018th? I don't know what that is. Alright, lovelies, that is the Jinhao Swan. Thank you so much for watching. And I am excited to bring you the other pens in my mini series about my 5 favorite fountain pens for beginners. So if you'd like to enter the giveaway to win the blue Jinhao Swan, a handmade journal, and an ink sample out of my personal stash, go ahead and in the comment section below, tell me what your favorite pen is. Doesn't have to be a fountain pen, but I only want to know one. Tell me one that you really, really love using. Maybe something that is in your everyday rotation of pens. And if you want to be entered twice in the giveaway, head over to my Instagram page, find the image of the Jinhao Swan giveaway, and leave a comment there as well. Thank you all. I can't wait to share these beautiful pens with you all. I'll see you tomorrow.